What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Mayo Media Network. It's time for Fantasy Baseball Picks and Bets, brought to you by the folks over at Prize Picks. We've got a bunch of stuff for you for this Monday, May the 3rd slate. Some DraftKings picks, like I said, some Prize Picks. We've got some bets, we've got stacks, we've got some pitchers for you to pick up on. We've got all that and more, but first, a few housekeeping notes to take care of. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, but even more, hit that sub button. I know if you're searching for us, that's one way to do it, but don't you just want it to appear on your YouTube homepage? Just press that subscribe button. That one helps us out a ton. Also, leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite play is for this slate, whether it's a bet, a DraftKings play, anything like that. Let us know. And an additional comment, if you could, about what kind of merch you'd like to see here over at the Mayo Media Network. You see right now, I've got the hat on. We have a few things in the works as well, but I want to know what you want to see in order for me to basically get the product out to you and not give you stuff you don't want to see. Anyways, let's dive into the picks and bets, but first, let's start with some Prize Picks. If you go over to prizepicks.com, you can play a bunch of different sports. They're really changing the way DFS is played. Instead of you against different people, or you against one person, or you against millions of people or thousands of people, it's you against the prop itself. In baseball, it's pretty simple. A single will get you 3 points, a double will get you 5 points, a triple 8, a home run 10, a run, RBI, walk, hit by pitch gets you 2 points, and a stolen base will get you 5. But what's even better is the folks over at Prize Picks are just going to give you up to $100 when you go and deposit. They'll try and match that for you, $100 in your account when you use code MMN. MLB. A tough one to say, but it's Mayo Media Network, Major League Baseball. Just shorten it down, MMN, MLB. Let's dive into the picks, and the first one I've got for you is Nelson Cruz over 8.5 points. So 8.5 is a pretty big number, but this can all go away with one swing of the bat, as I went over the scoring earlier. A home run here just gets rid of this, and it's done. Easy as that. And I think Nelson Cruz has a pretty good chance of doing some damage against Texas starter Dane Dunning, who's been roughed up over his last 2 starts, giving up a total of 9 runs, 5 in one, 4 in the other. So it's not like I'm going, he had 9 total runs over his last 2 starts because he gave up 8 in a stinker and 1 in a gem. No, it's been pretty consistently just not great over his last 2, 5 and 4, like I said. And Cruz has been mashing this year. 8 homers, 21 ribbies, batting .321, a .675 slugging percentage, and his BABIP of .306 against righty starters, and yep, Dane Dunning is a righty starter. I like it here. Cruz, as you know, if you follow baseball, well, otherwise, why else would you be watching us here? Bats in the 3 or 4 hole, so he has the RBI opportunities, he has the run opportunities. I really like this 8.5 number. It wouldn't surprise me if we see this creep up even higher as the season goes on and he starts doing even better. I want to attack an under here. And if you follow me over on the Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets show or my Sunday Best Bets show here, I'm not a fan of the unders unless it's Kevin Fiala shot props. But I do like this Anthony Rizzo line at 5.5. I don't love his matchup against Walker Buehler. Buehler's been steady this season, outside of one loss to the Reds where he gave up 5 runs, but he still struck out 10 batters in that loss. Rizzo did club a home run in last night's game, but I mean, who didn't in that slugfest against the Reds? But that's about the only way he's going to beat the 5.5, to be brutally honest. Over his last 10 games, he's gone deep twice, including that game that happened yesterday, but he's been hitless 5 times in his last 10 games. Give me Anthony Rizzo under 5.5. Give me Nelson Cruz over 8.5. Again, use code MMN. MLB for up to $100 deposit match. Go do that now. Prize Picks, a lot of fun. They have disc golf on there. I can't say more. I don't know anything about disc golf, but I know a few people that do, and I just tail their picks. It's a hell of a good time. You can mix and match too if you want. I know I'm talking a lot about Prize Picks, but if you want to mix some hockey in there as well, big slate tomorrow, go ahead and do that. Just use that code MMN MLB. Let's dive into some pitchers for you. I've got 2 cheap ones, and I've got 1 expensive fella for you today. My first cheap pitcher is Kenta Maeda for the Twins, $7,800, going up against those Texas Rangers. Just a bit of a trend here, as you can see. The Rangers love to strike out, not just because they employ Joey Gallo, but just because as a whole they like to strike out. They have the highest strikeout per game average at 10.54, and over their last 10 games, they've only struck out less than 10 times in a game twice. In terms of their offense as a whole, though, I want to give them a bit of credit. They're middle of the pack for average and OBP, but bottom third for OPS, 686 there. And Kenta Maeda has been pretty confusing to watch if you've watched him closely. His first 3 starts of the season, he's looked pretty good, and then just completely fell off the wagon against Oakland and Cleveland. Oakland has been phenomenal this year, so I'm giving him kind of a free pass on that, not a complete free pass. But I'm looking at how Maeda performs at Target Field as well, and he's just tremendously better there. In 6 starts in his career at Target Field, 37.1 innings pitched, 2.17 ERA, and 47 Ks for the guy. So you know he can strike people out. $7,800. I like the value here against Texas, who love to strike out. Just a quick guy for you, another value play. Aaron Sanchez, $7,300, former Blue Jay, going up against the Colorado Rockies. Might as well say former Astro as well while we're at it. And he actually looks pretty good this season, except for his control issues, which is why he's $7,300. He hasn't gone longer than 5 innings this season, but he also hasn't given up more than 2 runs in a single start. However, he is walking a few people more than you'd like to see, and he's always had this K per 9 around 8. He just needs to figure out his control, and I like the spot against the Rockies, $7,300. If you want to stuff your lineup with some of the guys like Trout, if you want to go after Nelson Cruz, if you want to go after Buxton, you might need to fill in with a cheap guy here at $7,300. However, if you find space in your lineup for this pitcher, you got to get him in there. And that sounds like the most clickbait thing ever. Good thing it's not an article and it's just a video or an audio podcast, wherever you're listening to. Tyler Glasnow on this slate, I think, is a cut above everybody else in terms of starting pitching. 10.3K, I know, is hefty, and I know he's going up against the Angels, where Mike Trout exists. And Mike Trout is a damn scary player. Shout out Chris Meany and your love for Mikey Trout. But in terms of stats and pure stuff, this season on this slate, it goes basically Glasnow, and then everybody else is like A tier, and then you get jumping into your different tiers. But I think Glasnow is in an S tier on his own on this Monday slate. 6 starts this season. The most hits he's ever given up in one of these games has been 5. Batters are just having a hard time hitting off of him. 4th in the league in strikeouts with 56, averaging 9.3 Ks per game, holding opponents' BABIP to .230. Opponent average of 144 as well, which is the 3rd lowest in the league among all qualified batters or pitchers. Tyler Glasnow, if you can fit him in there, 10.3K, I think you should just lock and load that guy right away. And there's a few ways you can get him in the lineup. One of my stacks that I'm going to give you has a few cheap bats in there, and I think if you mix and match Glasnow with Aaron Sanchez, you should be able to do it, as well as Kenta Maeda. You could get him in there. And let's talk about this stack. We're going with an Indian stack against Daniel Lynch. Now, Daniel Lynch isn't a household name for many right now. He's a lefty, and he's making his MLB debut, but he hasn't pitched above high A in his career. He was slated to start this season in AAA, but instead, right to the majors for you, kid. In 2019, when he pitched in high A, he had an ERA of 3.10, and I think this is just a good opportunity to stack Cleveland and go after some batters here to go against the lefty. Jose Ramirez, 5,300, Ahmed Rosario, 4,000, Yu Chang, 2,300, and Daniel Johnson, 2,000. So we've got some high-priced guys and a couple low-priced guys hitting you with some value plays so you can get Tyler Glasnow in your lineup. Looking at Ramirez this season, batting .273 against lefty starters, BABIP of .256, and Ahmed Rosario is the guy here that I like the most. If you're going to play any of these guys, even as a one-off, I think Ahmed Rosario is the one you want to go to. He's heating up. Over his last 3 games, he's collected 6 hits, 3 runs scored, a homer, a double, a triple, a pair of RBI. If this guy was on Prize Picks, I'd be on him like white on rice. If you want to keep going down, Daniel Johnson was called up, and he's batting the 1 or 2 hole consistently since Franmil Reyes has been out on paternity leave. He's a guy who hasn't quite figured it out yet in the majors. He slapped 306 in 2019 in AAA, but he's having a hard time transitioning over into the majors. And Yu Chang, just another quick $2,300 value play, because I think that's the way you're going to have to go to get these high-priced bats in. He's been slotted in against lefties for the most part this season, and it's just another value bet, like I said, to have if you want to go with the double stack of Rosario and Ramirez with these guys in order to save some space. Let's talk about some one-offs here. I've got a trio of one-offs. I've got a high-price guy for you. I've got a kind of mid-range guy, and I've got a little less than a mid-range guy. I don't have any cheap bats. I gave you a couple in the stack, so we'll give you, 2-ish mid-range guys and 1 expensive bat. The expensive bat, you might have guessed, Byron Buxton. He's just been flat out ridiculous this year, batting .408, 8 homers, 15 RBI. His speed is ridiculous, so as soon as he gets going on the base paths, he can get you those DraftKings points for stolen bases. And like we talked about at the start of the video, I just want to attack Dane Dunning, giving up those 9 runs across his first 2 starts. I like Buxton here, $6,100 against the Rangers. It's going to be tough to try and get Bucks and Glasnow in there, but I think you can will it in there with some of these 2K bats that I gave you. And then let's go over to Nolan Arenado, who just torches lefties. Over in St. Louis now, Nolan Arenado, $4,700 against the Mets, batting .320 against lefties in his career and batting .333 against lefties this year. It's no surprise Arenado bats cleanup, and that's what I like to target here. If you don't know my DraftKings style, I go after these guys high in the lineup, as you should as well. I feel like you know this by now. He's going up against Adam Wainwright, who is just getting off the COVID IL, a 4.08 ERA. I like Arenado here. If he was over on Prize Picks, I'd be after him as well. Grichuk, Randall freaking Grichuk, $3,900 against the Oakland Athletics. And everyone, and myself included, thought that Grichuk would be the odd man out when George Springer came to town for the Blue Jays, but Grich just looks way better than he has over the last 2 years. And over the last 2 or 3 years with the Jays, he's had those couple of months where you look at him and go, if only he could be like this for the whole season, then maybe the Blue Jays have a legitimate guy that can be worth the contract he's being paid. He's spraying the ball around a lot more. There's a lot that's going on with Grich that I do like. Compared to a lot of the other Blue Jays bats. I think a lot of the Blue Jays bats on this slate are slightly overpriced. If we take a look right now at how they're lining up the Jays for this, Springer's $5,500. Vladdy, I know, is a hot pick at $54. Bo Bichette, $54. Marcus Semien, $5,000. You could make a case for Teoscar at $4,200, but I think the value play here and the right play is Randall Grichuk at $3,900. $285, 5 dingers, 19 RBI. He's been batting in the 5 or 6 hole for the Jays, and he's going up against Frankie Montas, who's been just inconsistent this year. He had 2 terrible starts, giving up 7 and 6 earned runs, and then a couple of good starts that he went 6 innings deep, and then a couple average starts, or then an average start against the Rays. Like I said, I think you want to be involved in some of the Blue Jays, but if you can only take one and you're trying to squeeze them into your lineup, I think Randall Grichuk is the play at $3,900, which brings us to the bets. And I really like the Jays at plus 100 on the money line over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I like the over 8.5 at minus 110. The Jays offense is just completely woken up against the Atlanta Braves. Put up a 13 spot, a 6 spot, a 7 spot. And I like the matchup against Montas. And not to mention on the bump for the Jays, Steven Matz has been pretty good. 3 starts, giving up just 1 run, and 1 start where he gave up those 6 runs, but then he held the Rays to just 3 runs in another. So I'm kind of looking at that 6 runs against start as just a blemish on Matt's season so far, and it was all due to 1 really bad inning in that start. Just circling back on the Jays here, there's not a whole lot I like in terms of value. I don't think Danny Jansen at $2,100 is a good play whatsoever if you're trying to find a value bat. Steven Matz, though, if you want him at $8,400, I just think there's better options on the slate. I think you can go to a guy like Maeda for $7,800 and just try and fit Tyler Glasnow in your lineup. If you can't tell, if you just take one thing away from this, it's that I'm going to be heavy on my Glasnow shares in this video. What are you playing? What are you betting? Let me know what kind of merch you want to see. Leave a comment below. JT will be back for you next Monday, just filling in for him here at the Mayo Media Network. You can catch my stuff at Best of Matt on the Twitterverse or Instagram. Make sure you're rating us, reviewing us, all those fun things. Leave your Twitter handle in your audio podcast reviews over on Apple Podcasts. And you never know when At the PME is going to give away $100. Again, smash that sub button. Use promo code MMNMLB at Prize Picks. And we'll see you for the rest of the week with more fantasy baseball picks and bets here on the Mayo Media Network. Catch you later.